let's talk about something we all experience every single day, digital design. We're going to get into what makes some products feel, almost magical to use, while others are just a total nightmare. We'll pull back the curtain on the design method that's all about creating stuff you genuinely love.
I mean, really, think about it for a second. We've all been there, right? You open an app and it just gets you. It's intuitive, it's seamless. Then you open another one and you just want to throw your phone across the room. So what's the secret? What's that one ingredient that makes all the difference? So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the big picture. What even is design thinking? Then we'll look at the 5 phases that make it up. After that, we're going to zoom way in on step 1, starting with empathy, and check out the cool tools designers use, like personas and user stories.
All right, so what's the real difference between that great app and the frustrating one? Well, the answer usually comes down to this really powerful process called design thinking. Okay, so at its heart, design thinking is a pretty simple but kind of radical idea. Instead of starting with, say, a cool new piece of tech or some business goal, you start with the actual human being you're designing for. It's all about putting people first, always. So how does this all work in the real world? Well, design thinking is usually broken down into a 5-phase framework. You can think of it like a roadmap that takes designers from just identifying a problem all the way to creating a real solution. And here they are, the 5 classic stages. First, you empathize, which means you really get to know your users. Then you define their core problem. Next step is ideate, which is basically a fancy word for brainstorming a ton of ideas. From there, you build a prototype. And finally, you test it out with actual users. But here's the absolute key. This is not a simple one-way street, not at all. It's more like a cycle. What you learn in the test phase might send you all the way back to the beginning to empathize even more, or maybe just back to the ideate phase to cook up some new solutions. It's this constant loop of learning, refining, and making things better. For the rest of this explainer, we're really going to zero in on that critical first step, the one that everything else is built on, empathy. You could make a pretty strong case that empathy is a designer's single most important skill. It's all about setting aside what you think is a cool idea and instead truly understanding the user's world, their feelings, their thoughts, and the real challenges they're up against. So in this phase, your main job is to be a detective. You have to set aside all your assumptions and just listen. You're trying to uncover the truth of what someone is experiencing, what they really need, what they want, and what's currently standing in their way. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you take all that research and turn it into something useful? Well, designers have this amazing tool that makes empathy way less abstract and much more real. They create something called a persona. Now, a persona isn't a real individual person, but it's built from real research and data from lots of users. It's basically a fictional character that represents a whole group of users. And the whole point is to help the team focus on designing for a person, not just a bunch of spreadsheets and data points. And this is a perfect example. Everybody meet Thierry. He's 23, he's a student, and he's also working. His goal is simple. He wants to cook more to save some cash. But his frustrations, they feel so real, right? He's got no time. Fresh food is expensive and it goes bad. And getting takeout just feels wasteful. See? All of a sudden, the team isn't just building a recipe app. They're building something for Thierry. It completely changes the conversation. And building a persona like Thierry actually follows a pretty clear process. Designers will pull together all the demographics. They'll pinpoint those key goals and frustrations from their research. They'll write a little bio to bring the person to life, and they'll even find a photo. The goal is to create a character that feels so real, the whole team can get behind them and root for them. So once you have your persona, once you have Thierry, the next step is to really nail down their core problem. And that brings us to the next tool that designers use to turn all this empathy into focused, concrete action. They do this with something called a user story, and it's a deceptively simple little tool. It's just one sentence that captures exactly what the persona needs, told from their point of view. And that one sentence? It becomes the North Star for every single design decision that follows. The magic of a user story is in its simple structure. It forces you to get crystal clear on 3 things. Who is the user? What do they want to do? And this is the most important part. Why do they want to do it?
That clarity is what keeps the entire team focused on solving the right problem for the right reason. And here it is, the classic format. As a persona, I want to action, so that benefit. The as a part, that's your user. The I want to is their goal. And the so that, well, that's the good stuff. That's their real human motivation, the deep need you're actually trying to solve. So let's bring it back to our guy, Thierry. His user story boils down his entire challenge into one clear, powerful sentence. As a busy student, I want to find quick recipes so that I can save money. Boom. Just like that, the entire design team has a perfectly clear mission. So when you put it all together, you can see that great design is absolutely not an accident. It all starts with this deep sense of empathy. And we build that empathy using tools like personas to make our users feel real. From there, we use user stories to turn that empathy into a clear, actionable mission for the whole team. This empathy, it's the foundation for the entire process, but it naturally leads to the next big question. Once you truly understand someone's problem, how in the world do you actually start solving it? What comes next on that journey from an idea to a real working product? Well, that's a story for another time.